Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Let's start with chapter 1, which is an introduction to project management. And this is the first chapter of this course, inshallah, and I hope that it will prepare you to understand what does project management mean, and what do we mean by IT project management. So the learning objectives, first of all, we need to understand the growing need for better project management. Why do we need project management, and why is that specific to information technology projects? We need to explain what do we mean when we say a project, and we're going to have some examples of IT projects. We will describe project management and the project management framework, and we will understand the role of project managers and what do they do and what are their jobs within a project. Um, Many organizations do have a renewed interest in project management, meaning that they started um, feeling that project management is important, and they became interested in making sure that um, project management is applied and followed within their organizations. Specifically in the IT world, there is huge spendings. Organizations are spending a lot of money in IT projects, and according to the Project Management Institute, it's estimated that there is a need for 15.7 million project management jobs from 2010 until 2020. And 6.2 million of these jobs are in project management statistics. Just let's understand project management in terms of numbers. In 2020, which is the most recent year that the Project Management Institute conducted salary survey, they found that the average salary in US dollars for someone who's working in project management as a yani that's their job yani they get around $116,000 per year. That's in the United States. In Australia, it's about $101,000 a year. And in Saudi Arabia, it's $64,000 a year. That's a lot of money for someone who's working in this job. The top skills that employers, when they are looking to hire people, when they are hiring college graduates, is that all related to project management, such as ability to work in teams, ability to make decisions, solving problems, ability to verbally communicate, and such. Now, according to the Project Management Institute, organizations actually waste a lot of money when they spend money on projects. Mainly, they spend for each $1 billion, $109 million are wasted when projects are. Okay, so what is our motivation for studying information technology project management? Why do we need to study project management specifically for IT projects? First of all, IT projects have terrible track record in terms of what we call it, in terms of failure. So as we just mentioned, it has been reported many times that only 16.2% of IT projects are successful. This means that almost over 84 sorry over 84% of IT projects are failing. So whenever there is an IT project running, there is a huge chance for it to be failing. Okay, and in fact, when we say that a project is failing or a project failed, we actually refer to the fact that it did not meet its target, meaning that it did not meet its scope, its time, and its cost. Okay, and this applies to all types of projects, but we're now only talking or covering the one that is related to IT projects. So why do we need IT project management? Um, First, because IT projects fail, they fail miserably. There is a huge track of failure with IT projects. And second, because project management is thought of as a way to improve the chances for projects to succeed. So if we apply project management, there is a good chance for the project to succeed. Whereas if we don't, there is a little chance for a project to succeed. And when we say that a project is successful, we're saying that it met its target in terms of scope, time, and cost. In terms of time and cost, I think it's clear, but scope maybe it's not very clear. So we will clarify this later, inshallah, as we move on with the material. I hope that everyone is following so far. And if you need any question, just please raise your hand and I will stop and then answer your questions, and then we continue. All right. So far we said that um, um, IT projects, um, they are needed. Many organizations are doing or applying IT projects, but also IT projects are failing. They have huge failure track. They don't meet their scope, time, and cost goals, and they're costing organizations a lot of money, and organizations are losing because of that. All right. So as I said, that project management is actually thought of as a solution to overcome problems that can be caused, or the fact that projects can are expected to be failing. So this can be overcome by project management. So if we apply project management, if we use formal project management methods, we are actually expected to have a better chance of succeeding in IT projects. Okay, so what are the advantages of using formal project management? When we say formal, it means that it was predefined. We know exactly the steps that we need to follow in order to manage a project. So this is what we mean by formal. Formal, that is already defined, already identified. People know what is it. Okay. So formal project management, meaning that we, before starting a project, we know that the first step will do this, the second step will do that, and the third step will do that, etc. Okay, so what are the advantages of using formal project management? First of all, we have better control of financial, physical, and human resources. So, of course, if we are running a project, we will need to have resources. This means that we have money, we have special equipment, and we have people who are we are paying in order to do things for us. So we call these our resources. So if we apply project management, we will have better control of these resources. Also, we will have improved customer relations, which means that if we are an organization, it means that we have customers. If we run project management properly, it means that we are able to improve our customer satisfaction and make sure that we have good relationships with our customers. Also, if we run any kind of project, we will have a shorter development time. So we will not be taking long times when we are running a certain project. Also, we will have lower costs. So if we are running a project we will not be overspending, let's say. We will not be overspending. We will spend exactly the money needed for the project to succeed. Okay, so we'll be able to lower costs. Also, we will be able to increase quality and reliability. Quality, it means that whatever we produce out of these projects, it is actually um, a good product, a high quality product, and also it is reliable. It is something that you can actually feel that you can trust. Whatever this company is producing, it's trustworthy. For instance, now if Apple actually introduced a new product now, we will be sure that it is of high quality and it is reliable, because Apple have run multiple projects, and it developed some sort of a formal project management method, which means that whatever project they are involved in, it is guaranteed to be of high quality and reliability. Okay, of course, all of these will contribute to the organization, and it will have higher profit margins. The organization will make profit. And again, Apple example, I don't know if you heard that, but Apple um, um, uh, 2 weeks ago broke its own records in terms of its revenue, and it's actually worth more than two, not billion, trillion dollars. So it is actually exceeding all historical standards in terms of its worth in terms of money. Improve productivity. Of course, if we are developing in a shorter time, we are developing in lower costs and high quality and increased reliability. This means that we have an improved productivity. We start a project, we finish it, and we finish it in a high quality and very low cost. Okay, and we're done with it, and then we move to the next. This is what we mean to improve productivity. It means that we are able to produce different projects because we don't get stuck in one project. No, we finish with the project and we move on. Furthermore, we have better internal coordination, meaning that our employees are able to work in harmony and easily, and without every one of them knows exactly what is expected of them and what they need to do. After that, we also improve worker morale. So what do we mean by morale? It's not moral, it's not akhlaq. Morale means their positive feeling, معنويات يعني, their positive feeling regarding their work and their ability to produce and their ability to work within the team and being proud because they are part of a good organization. Okay, before I move on, I just want to double check that you understand what are these points and what they are referred to. They are referred to the advantages of using formal project management, the ability to use formal project management. Is it يعني what I'm saying is that how will these help an organization? How will applying formal project management assist an organization? So now we need to define what a project is. We need to define what is a project. According to the PEM book, the project management guide, or which is part of, or which is actually one of the products of the Project Management Institute, and we will talk about that later. They define project management as a temporary, sorry, they define a project, not project management, as a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product, service, or result. So a project is actually temporary, which means that it has a specific time to start and specific time to end. And we undertake it, we follow, or we um, uh, do this project because we want to create a unique product or service or result. Product, it can be like an iPhone, for instance. An iPhone was a project one day. So it was a project that was run by Apple, and then it produced the iPhone. Service, let's say like a project is to provide a service like moving furniture from one house to another. Result, such as improving your average. You want to improve your GPA this year, so you will run a project in order to improve your average. Now, when we say a project, it's different from operations, because operations are the day-to-day works that the organization or the business is conducting, and these never end. So these, we cannot say that these are a project, but a project is something within the organization that needs to have a start and an end. Now, projects end when they meet their objective or when they are terminated. So we say that a project has either reached its goal, so it will end positively, or it was terminated, meaning that it was going nowhere and it needed to stop. So in this way, it's terminated. Projects can be large and they can be small and they can be short and they can be long, but at the same time, they have to complete. And from the examples that I gave you, you notice that some of the projects can last for hours, some of them can last for years, and some of them can last for days. So it doesn't matter how long the project lasts, it matters that it has a start and an end, and it's actually producing either a product, service, or it's actually producing a result, just like the example of the GPA. طيب. Now, all right, examples of IT projects. Now, I need you to focus very well when I talk about these examples, because IT projects are, this is something that I face with the students every year when I teach this course, and I taught this course multiple times before. And the problem that I face is that the students are not able to properly identify an IT project. They would come with a project, but it's not an IT project. So, and of course, as I said before, a project is actually an important part of your course, because you are supposed to run a project and you need to first to successfully identify an IT project. So I will mention these examples here, and hopefully that you will get inspired with some ideas of IT projects. And actually, you need to go back to your project description document, and because you have to identify, after you identify your teams, you have to identify or select an IT project, and this is actually graded. So you need to be able to properly identify an IT project. So these are now examples of IT projects that can run on any organization, or not, it doesn't have to even be within an organization. So the first example, a team of students creates a smartphone application and sells it online. So some students, they have a good idea of an application, and they come together and they decide that they want to develop it and sell it online for profit. So this is a project. It has a purpose. It should have a starting date and ending date, and it has resources. The students are a part of these resources. Their laptops, let's say their allowances, their printer, internet connection, all of these are considered resources, and they need to run these resources in order to eventually produce a smartphone application that they are proud of and they can be able to sell it. Another example is of a company which decides to make a driverless car. So a company that is actually wanting to be the lead in producing something very innovative, which is a driverless or autonomous car. So this is considered an IT project because they need to develop its hardware and its software. The first example is actually only a software, but the second example is actually hardware and software. A third example, a government group develops a system to track child immunization. So a government entity, let's say Ministry of Health, they develop a system to track the children immunization record. So they develop a software, an app, a web application. All of these are considered software solutions, and they use it to track immunization, يعني التطعيم, to track children immunization. طيب, another example, a global bank which acquires other financial institutions and needs to consolidate systems and procedures. Now, this means that there's a bank, and this bank is actually acquiring, which means that it's buying other financial institutions, let's say other banks. So, or let's say banks that are merging together. So a project will be that these systems, each of these banks will have its own system, and they need to coordinate their work together so that they will become running as one system since they become one institution. Another example is, which did not happen actually, but when Uber bought Careem, they did not merge their two apps. They're actually two separate apps, but they would consider merging their apps and having one single app running all of the operations. Another example, which recently happened, is the move from souk.com to amazon.sa. So the fact that all of the operations that were taking place in souk.com were moved to amazon.sa is actually considered as an IT project. Now, it is important for you to think of an IT project and to come up with something that is within an organization or out of organization, but you need to come up with an IT project. And I'm sorry, I cannot verify your project to be an IT project or not, because this is actually a graded work. I cannot tell you it's true or not, or correct or not. You need to be able to tell the difference, and you need to research, and you need to look at these examples and compare your work, and you understand if you are correct or not. Okay, ممتاز. Now, let me just stop for a minute. If anyone has a question or anything, you can just raise your hand and I will answer a question. Any question? طيب. Now, top strategic technologies for 2020, and these are coming from Gartner. And Gartner is a respected party that is concerned with technologies. So they actually identified the top technologies of 2020. And I'm mentioning this here because it can inspire you for ideas and things to think of when you are thinking of your IT project. So some of these strategies or the technologies that organizations are considering to apply them in their for their businesses is, first of all, hyper automation. Hyper automation is the combination of machine learning and packaged software. So organizations that have already software that is running, they actually combine it with machine learning. They empower it with machine learning, and this is called hyper automation. Multi-experience, which means that actually allowing the user experience, the user interaction with software technologies to be multiple. It's not only let's say just direct interaction by clicking and typing and such. It's actually extended to cover virtual reality, augmented reality, and mixed reality to improve user experience. Also, human augmentation, which is the use of technology to deliver cognitive and physical improvement, meaning that we use technology to improve the way we think and the way we move. And this is actually appropriate because a couple of days ago, Elon Musk actually announced that they successfully developed a chip that can be inserted into human brain, and it can control our body functions and movement and such. Also, there is distributed cloud, which means that organizations will have their operations accessible from anytime, anywhere, and they actually managed and by a third party. They don't have local servers that are actually managed their operations. Autonomous things, just like the driverless car, autonomous things, that these are things that are, they work without our intervention. Robots actually are part of this. Also, there is practical blockchain, which is the financial running of businesses, and it actually includes bitcoins and digital currency and such details. AI security, this is also one of the strategic technologies that are considered for 2020 by organizations, by Gartner. So these are the top strategic technologies that organizations are considering in 2020. And of course, this actually changed every year because the way technology is developing is really unbelievable. All right. طيب. What are project attributes? Project attributes, when we say attributes, we want to say characteristics or properties. So a project is actually or should have a unique purpose. So the project has one single important purpose. We are running this project for this purpose. Okay. It is also temporary, and we already mentioned that it has a starting date and ending date. It no matter how long it is lasting, it will end sometime. It is developed using progressive elaboration. Progressive elaboration meaning that it is revealed step by step. We don't approach the project and do it just all at once. No, we actually, and we will talk about this later, inshallah, when we talk about the work breakdown structure, we actually break down the project into smaller tasks and we progress slowly as we develop the project step by step. It requires resources, and we already talked about resources, human resources, financial resources. So it has or requires resources, and these resources are usually coming from various areas, not one type of resources. Also, it should have a primary customer or sponsor, someone who is interested in making this project successful, and someone who is actually investing time or money in order for this project to succeed. So a project sponsor is actually someone who gives us direction into how do we want this project to turn, and in some cases they are actually funding the project. They're paying for the project to be run. Also, all projects involve uncertainty. Means that there is some level of uncertainty that is connected to projects. Sometimes we are not sure about things. We're not sure about how successful will it be. We're not sure how or how much money are we going to spend. This uncertainty is normal, but we need to learn how to manage and deal with it. Okay, now we do have some definitions here. So we have a project manager and we have a program manager. Now, a project manager who is actually the person who works with the project sponsor, the project team, and all others who are involved in the project in order to meet the project goals. So a project manager is a person who works with everybody else in order to make sure that the project is successful. Now, a program is actually group of related projects, and these projects are managed and coordinated together in order to achieve um, uh, um, uh, benefits that if we run each project individually, we will not achieve these benefits. So a program is a group of projects that we run together to achieve benefits. If we run each of these projects individually, we will not gain these benefits. Now, what can these benefits be? It can be in terms of achieving or finishing these projects faster, or sharing similar resources, which means that we will not spend money, or finishing all of these projects within time frame, which means that we will have high productivity. We will be finishing all multiple projects in the same time parallelly. Okay, so now, so what is the program manager? The program manager is the manager of project managers. So each project within the program will have its project manager, and all of them will be managed by a program manager. So he is the boss of project manager. So now, when we talk about the success of a project, we are actually discussing the fact that the project will achieve its goal by while maintaining three constraints or triple constraints. Triple معناها three. So three constraints. If we finish the project and these three constraints are achieved, then we say that the project is successful. What are these constraints? These are scope, time, and cost. So when we are managing a project, we want to make sure that the project meets its target, but it has to follow three constraints, which are cost, scope, and time constraints. Now, when we say cost constraints, meaning that it has a setup budget, so it does not exceed a certain number when it is actually running. So cost means that the amount of money that we are spending does not exceed a certain target. So this is cost goal. Time goal means that we have a deadline for the project. We want to make sure that the project does not exceed the time goal, which means that it does not exceed the time, the deadline. Scope goal means that the project is actually achieved what it needs to do. For instance, if we have a project to make a cake, okay, in terms of cost, we say that we want to make a cake, but we don't want to pay more than 200 riyals in making this cake. We buy the ingredients, we get the equipments, we do everything, but we do not pay more than 200 riyals. So this is the cost goal. Time goal, we want to make this cake by tomorrow midnight. So we have a deadline. We want to make sure that by that time we will have the cake ready. Scope goal means that we want to make sure that it is actually producing the product that it is intended to produce. So at the end, it will not produce, let's say at the beginning we say that we want to have a cake. So this cake, it is going to be round, and it's going to be big, and it's going to be, let's say, multiple tiers, طبقات يعني. Okay, so if at the end we actually delivered a small cake that it's not طبقات, it's only one small cake, it means that we did not cover the scope. Okay, which means that it should be tiers, and it actually should have some frosting, and it should have some decoration. So meaning that it did not achieve what it was intended to achieve entirely. It achieved part of it. Okay, so this is what we mean by scope. So what is the triple constraints of project management? Triple constraints of project management means that we want to um, um, achieve the project target while obeying or maintaining the triple constraints of project management. These are cost, time, and scope constraints. Okay, I'll stop in a minute for a second. Do you have any questions? Do you have anything? If there's anything I can answer before I move on. Right. Now we start by uh, defining what is project management. So we defined what is a project. It's a temporary endeavor that is undertaken to produce a product, service, or result. That's a project. But what is project management? Now, project management is the application of knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques to project activities to meet project requirements. So we actually use our knowledge, and actually all of this course is about these things: knowledge, skills, and tools and techniques. Um, so we're going to apply knowledge, and we apply skills and tools and techniques in order to run a project that will to run a project in order to allow it to meet its requirements. Now, project managers they try very hard to meet the triple constraints that I just explained. They want to make sure that the project actually meets its scope, its time, and its cost goals. Okay, and also during this time, they want to make sure that they meet the needs and expectations of the project stakeholders. They want to satisfy those who are interested in the project, who want to know, or who need who are actually very keen to make sure that the project is successful. So stakeholders are very important to satisfy. Now, this is what we call the project management framework. As I said, these are knowledge areas, okay, or knowledge, tools and techniques, and
all of these together are used or applied by the skills that the project manager has. So we have 10 knowledge areas, and we have tools and techniques, and we have skills that the project manager has in order to make the or make sure that the project is successful. And we said that if you see to the far right, that stakeholders, they have their needs and they have their expectations, and we need to, sorry, the far left, we need to make sure that these are met. Now, what are the knowledge that we need to apply? We actually have 10 knowledge areas that we need to apply. And all the chapters that we are going to study in this book, for each of these knowledge areas, we have a chapter. So we have scope management, time management, cost management, quality management, human resources management, communications management, risk management, procurement management, and stakeholder management. Stakeholder management is not part of the course, but all of the rest are actually in a separate chapter for each of these knowledge areas. And if you notice, these are 9. So scope, time, cost, quality, human resources, communications, risk, procurement, and stakeholder, these are 9 knowledge areas. The number 10 knowledge area is what's in the middle, project integration management. This is the 10th knowledge area. Now, all of these 10 knowledge area are applied during project management while we are managing projects, and we actually use tools and techniques. This can be software tools or paper-based tools in order for us to reach for project success. Now, if a first project is run and is successful, a second project is run and managed and is successful, the third is run and managed and is successful, and so forth. This means that the enterprise will be successful. The enterprise will have a good project portfolio, which means that they are successful in running multiple projects for themselves. So as I explained, there are 10 project management knowledge areas. And a knowledge area is actually describing the key competencies, the key skills, the key abilities that the project manager must develop. They have to have it. If you are a project manager, you have to be able to do all 10 knowledge areas. Okay, you need to be able to do project integration, scope, time, cost, quality, human resources, communications, risk, procurement, and stakeholder management. And as I mentioned before, this course includes an entire chapter on each of these knowledge areas, except for project stakeholders. Okay, so what are project stakeholders? Stakeholders, and we're not studying actually project stakeholders because it's more about managing people. So, and this is something that we felt it's kind of overwhelming and it's kind of out of the scope of what we're trying to teach you in terms of IT related management. Now, project stakeholders, just to give you an overview, is actually or are people who are involved or affected by project activities. Anyone who is part of the project, or even if it's not part of the project but is affected by the project, is considered a stakeholder. And since they are affected, they care, and we need to manage them, and we need to manage their expectations and their thinking and what they want. Now, stakeholders include the project sponsor. We already mentioned them. These are people who are directing how the project is going to be. And these are people who are sometimes paying, so they are important. The project manager is considered a stakeholder because he wants to make sure that the project is successful. So he is affected by the project. The project team, everybody who's working with the within the team, these are people who are interested in the success or failure of the project, so they actually considered to be stakeholder. Support staff, these include secretary, admin staff, people who are not directly working on the project, but they are supporting the project one way or another. There's also customers. As I said, sometimes the sponsor is also a customer, but sometimes a sponsor is paying, but the customer is only receiving the product at the end. So the project customer is also considered as a stakeholder, someone we want to make sure that they are satisfied. And we also have users, those who can use. Now, depending on the project, it's different. It's sometimes the sponsor and the customer and the user is the same person, but in some projects, each one of them is different. There is also, so for example, you can have a project that is funded by a sponsor, and there is a customer who's going to buy it, but there is a user who's going to use it eventually. The suppliers, these are other companies that we work with in order to provide us with resources, maybe human resources, maybe technological resources. So they provide us with, or they supply us with things that are related to the project, and they are considered to be stakeholders. Finally, we have opponents to the project, competition, people who do not work with us. These are considered to be also stakeholders that we need to manage, and we need to make sure that they are satisfied. So I will stop here for this hour, and next time we will continue with chapter 1. And if you have any questions, please let me know. I'm ready to answer all of your questions.